Yannicka. I'm the technical specialist at Minnesota GreenStar.
Perfect.
I'm Mike Williams, Executive Director with Minnesota GreenStar. Happy to see this passive house under construction.
And we're happy to have you guys out here, especially now that we've got the thing all the way up and out of the ground, and there's something to look at.
Well, and clearly you guys are thinking it through as far as your staging and working with the temperature issues and so forth, which is an excellent thought process to make sure you don't rush it.
Yeah, thanks.
It's very interesting to see an entire house built floor to ceiling with insulated concrete forms, because it's not something, it's very common, and it's really cool.
And knowing that's only half the thickness too, that's
right.
kind of wild.
Right, we've got 11 inches so far and another 11 to go. I kind of wanted to ask you just in general. Now, this house is this is a high level passive house. This is something that we can aspire to, I think. But I'm kind of wondering, what's your idea on this as a really a practical approach to dealing with our climate, and what do you think? What do you think we might see going forward? Kind of more in the general housing construction.
Well, I think there's two interesting things out of this house. One is the passive, but two, which is almost more important from a broader scale, is the size. And this is a much smaller footprint, extremely smaller footprint, and just smaller living space, which, if we're going to get anywhere on the energy efficiency and so forth, we have to start living within our means and what we need versus the McMansions and all this extra space. So you certainly can't optimally do a passive house on a 6,000 square foot home in a cost-effective manner. So I think this using those two key attributes is critical. I think getting people to think in the smaller versus the larger is the first step.
Well, I know GreenStar has been pretty instrumental in trying to get people to think about being a little smaller, being a little more minimalist when it comes to space added or total square footage.
Well, it's when people start thinking about quality versus quantity, and that's starting. And I think the more we go to that level, the more people are going to understand the benefits of other homes like this and start ratcheting up the technology.
I think too we'll see not necessarily the passive house system, but bits and pieces of the passive house ideology encrypted into the Minnesota and the Wisconsin building energy codes. Because it does take I don't want to say extreme, but the innovative to pull the norm toward the more innovative and the higher quality. And so we need the passive houses. We're not all necessarily going to be at the passive house level, but we're hopefully going to get closer. And the passive houses that are like this are absolutely instrumental in getting us there.
Well, I know one of the things that was a real challenge was trying to get a wall system that would deliver R70, but didn't give us problems with retaining water or mold issues and stuff like that, because it's just so thick. So there's a lot of area in there to take care of it, and that's one of the reasons that this house is ICF, is because it's the thing that works, that we actually came up with, that doesn't have any problems long term. So I think that's makes a nice it makes a nice house to begin with, but it also makes a good healthy house kind of long term, which is what I think one of the big contributions of this place is, because we'd never really modeled anything to this degree before, to this.
Well, along those lines too, with finding the proper wall construction, my limited understanding of passive house is you're actually exceeding it because you don't get credit for the thermal mass,
right,
that you get with ICFs, and so you're getting all of that true nominal insulation value plus the strength and thermal mass that's coming with insulated concrete forms.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Very cool.
I think the air quality is the item that people to your point, often overlook. And when you create such tight housing, the beauty of understanding how it works versus just how one component is, and looking at the house as a system is really the key to the future.
The other thing that's really cool about this project specifically, and that needs to be addressed, I feel, is that it's got sort of a best practice example of a highly integrated project team. You have a very well engaged homeowner, which is great, who contacted.
Very well engaged.
Very well engaged.
Knowledgeable. Yeah.
And that's something that's added to the process, because sometimes the homeowner's removed a bit from the construction and they don't understand how to operate the home perhaps as efficiently as they could. You also have obviously a very engaged builder, more construction, and TE Studios, the designer, which just helps further that process of the knowledge being spread across the board instead of one or two people on the project knowing what's going on. Everybody does. And when you can have a system like that, you sort of have checks and balances, and you can you all learn from each other in a very productive way.
Right, you do learn from each other. I think that's really important. It's been a great learning experience for us, definitely.